transferring your content from Blackboard. So that turns out to be actually pretty easy to do. When we first started looking at Canvas and so on, it looked a little it was easy to get the content over into Canvas, but things looked a little strange when we got it over there until we really understood how Canvas handles things and how it organizes imported content. But as it turns out, it's really not that tough. And we're almost ready to start here today. What we're going to be doing today is actually importing a small but fairly representative Blackboard course, cleaning it up and getting it ready to use. And this session's only scheduled for an hour, so it can't take too long. Indeed, let's go ahead and get started here. I recognize almost everyone, I think, but just to be on the safe side, my name is Dave Giberson. Until about a year and a half ago, I was the senior instructional designer in online learning pathways at the district. Now I'm just a senior citizen, retired and living in northern Idaho, as you can see behind me here, and a current resident of the polar vortex. Missed us for a while, but it zigged when it should have zagged and got us instead. This is actually, they call this little town I'm in the banana belt of northern Idaho, because the climate is so mild. This is what mild looks like when you're 60 miles south of Canada. As I say, what we're going to do today is take a look at a fairly small but representative Blackboard course, see how to export it from Blackboard, and then how to import it into Canvas. And then we'll spend, that takes about 5 minutes. Then we'll see some of the strategies you can use to clean it up and get it ready to go in Canvas, and some of the ways you can take advantage of the design capabilities of Canvas in doing so. I think most of you are probably pretty familiar with Zoom, but just a real quick thing, if you mouse over me, you'll see a little menu pop up at the bottom of the screen. In the lower left, to the very left end of that menu bar, there's a little microphone icon. And that microphone you can mute and unmute, turn on and off, by clicking on the microphone icon. And when it's muted, it has a red slash through it. With no more of us than we have here today, it's probably not necessary to keep your microphone muted so that you can speak without having to think about unmuting yourself and so on. If we have some problems, I may ask you to mute. But in the meantime, unless you prefer not to, you're welcome to unmute. And I see 4 of you at least have your webcams turned on. You can also turn your webcam on and off, assuming you have one. It's not necessary. But if you have a webcam, you can turn that on and off with the little camera icon just to the right of the microphone icon, same way. And it's nice to see you. So I appreciate those of you who choose to turn it on. This is a bad hair free zone day, or a bad hair day free zone, I should say. So it's nice to see you all. On the a little bit further over, about a little over halfway to the right-hand edge of the menu, is a little chat tool, a little comic book balloon kind of thing. We'll be using that occasionally to have back-channel communication. But the main thing I'd like to do with that, if you wouldn't mind doing it now, is if you click on that balloon, and you'll see a little entry box at the bottom of the screen pop up. And if you just put your name and your email address in there and press enter, I would very much appreciate it. That's how I keep attendance on these. We have to keep numbers of folks who have attended and so on for accreditation purposes. So I'd very much appreciate that. Also, it gives me an opportunity to get back in touch with you if I have something new to share. We are, of course, going to be transitioning to Canvas for summer term. That is still pretty firm. The only reason we're not already on Canvas is that PeopleSoft wasn't ready for spring. They're still on ISIS, and I didn't figure it was worth integrating ISIS with Canvas and then turning right around and doing PeopleSoft. But one Katz has sworn one way or another we're going with Canvas in the summer. So it's time. This is a good time to be getting your content from Blackboard over into Canvas, assuming that's how you want to proceed. It's also possible, of course, just to rebuild your course from scratch in Canvas, and that's actually quite easy to do. Canvas is very quick to add content and organize, and it almost forces you to organize it as you put it in. So it's that's not difficult, but I know many of you have courses in Blackboard that you've used for years, that you've refined over the years into just what you want. And there's no reason you should have to reinvent the wheel on that. And you certainly don't, because your content from Blackboard will import just fine. And 90+% of the time, the content will not only import, but it'll be immediately functional. And I use the word content in a very broad sense here, not just lecture notes and informational type material, but assignments, quizzes, discussion forums. Most of the things that you have in Blackboard will import into Canvas in a fully functional form, or may require a little tweaking. And we'll see that today. I'm going to spend most of the day sharing my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and we'll go ahead and get started. Please don't hesitate to ask questions as they come up. I will do my best, and anything that comes up is fine. We've got plenty of time here today on this task. Should it be something that I don't know, or if I have a senior moment and lose it, I will get it. I'll ask you to put it in the chat tool, and I'll get it back to you. And you're, of course, always welcome to email me with any questions. I'm doing a little consulting for Online Learning Pathways, helping with the final stages of the Canvas transition. And one of my tasks is supporting people who are getting their stuff ready in Canvas. So while everybody else tries to keep the shiny side up with Blackboard, though they're also doing, of course, a lot of training and Canvas training, and particularly in the online Canvas certification courses. So let me get things shared here. And we'll bring Canvas over. Get some stuff out of the way there. Canvas, of course, is sdccd.instructure.com. That's our production Canvas system. It's been up for a couple of semesters now. We're actually we ran pilot courses with real students last semester. That went very well. We're doing it again this semester, just because we couldn't go live, and the people who were using Canvas last semester just about refused to go back to Blackboard. So we had to humor them. There was talk of torches and pitchforks. So people seem to love Canvas once they get into it. So let's go ahead and pile in here. I suspect many of you have probably seen Canvas before, but this is the entry page on Canvas when you log in, the dashboard. It's basically a courses list, and each course has a pretty little tile maybe with a little graphic in the center of it. It's a very pretty system, but very intuitive as well. The user interface is so much better designed in Canvas than it ever will be in Blackboard, because Blackboard has all these years of legacy functionality and so on from their products since 1998. And the folks who wrote Canvas were able to just start over from scratch. And that was a considerable advantage. I've got Blackboard up here as well. Thought I had it up. There we go. Because we're going to start off by taking a look at a course in Blackboard, because that's what we're talking about today, moving a course from Blackboard into Canvas. And I'm going to use this little Flex course that I used to run on Blackboard, simply because it's fairly small. Won't take that long to talk about, but it contains most of the elements that you'll find in a typical Blackboard course, either online or on our web enhanced. It contains text, graphics, folders, learning modules, content of all sorts, assignments, discussion forums, tests, etc. Most of the things that you'd find in a standard Blackboard course. This is, of course, a typical Blackboard course, as you've seen, with the opening page here, and just a series of content items on that page, and some content folders, and a series of content areas over here in the course menu, like the syllabus content area, the information content area, the learning modules content area, and so on. Some discussion forums, etc. So, what do we have to do to get this course into Canvas? Well, the first thing, of course, is to get an export of this Canvas, this Blackboard course. To do that, we'll go to the course control panel and to Packages and Utilities and Export Archive Course. We'll want what's called an export package, not an archive. An archive contains student data, and student data wouldn't transfer over anyway. So we just need the content. So we just click that link, the button there. I would leave all of these items alone here, leave the defaults. You might calculate the size of the course. This is a small one, so it won't take too long to bring over. A small one in terms of the file usage or this file storage usage actually in the course. One caveat here is that if that number turns up at or around or over 500 megabytes, you're probably going to have to clean your Blackboard course a bit before you bring it over, because we're not going to be able to transfer courses of more than 500 megabytes in size. The bulk of the disk space used by your course will be used in your file manager, the content collection in Blackboard. And you can go into that. The first link in the content collection menu is your file manager for your course. And some of you may have folder after folder after folder. If you've used a course for a while and copied it from one semester to another, you may have just a huge number of nested folders here with lots of duplication of content. You basically want to get rid of as much of that as possible for things that you're no longer using, or duplicate copies of large PowerPoints and things like that. And we can help you with that. Just remember that if you're trying to remove some older, no longer useful material from your course, you have to do it in the content collection, in the file manager. You can't just go to a content area like your home page and delete things from there. You have to delete it from delete the actual files that are linked on those content pages from the file manager. And of course, the bigger the file, you want to start with the bigger files first to get things down as quickly as possible. But this course is nowhere near any problematic limits, so we're just going to go ahead and hit that export package button again. And I strongly, please.
Yes. So how do I know which one is an old file or an old item?
Generally, you'll have folders named with the semester of the course that you copied previously.
Oh, so
And
I can delete everything except the, let's say, the last one that I didn't want to delete.
probably. There's some possibility of deleting a file that that you're still using. That might have just happened to have been, you only ever had one copy of it and you uploaded it terms ago and it didn't get copied. But that's unlikely. And when you're moving stuff into Canvas, you always have the opportunity to reload any files that you might have lost. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. If you're really concerned about that sort of thing, what you can do is just ask us for a master transfer shell. And then you can copy the content from your latest production shell into that. And then you can delete stuff willy-nilly because you know you always have a copy of it back in one of your production shells. But the chances of you wiping out the world's only copy of something when you're going through and deleting stuff out of your content collection is pretty remote. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Thank you.
And you're going to want to check your Canvas course over pretty carefully when you get everything over into Canvas anyway, because I think, I said 90+% of stuff comes over fine. Well, that means there's still some stuff that doesn't, and it's not in a functional condition. So you do want to check your Canvas course carefully before you put students in it and have them use it. I strongly recommend when you're selecting material to export from Blackboard that you export everything, select all. You can always get rid of it once it's over in Canvas. But if you don't do this, you run the risk of not copying something you want, because Blackboard's a little funky that way. Most of you probably experienced that before. So strongly recommend you select everything here and then just submit. And that will cause an archive, an export archive or an export file to be created. I'm not going to do that right now because I've already done it several times in previous sessions. These are a couple of export files for this course. They appear right here in your export archive course list. And you can download one of these files just by clicking the action link, the little down caret next to the file name that pops up when you mouse over the file name, and selecting open. I know this should say download. Sorry, I don't know why it doesn't. I have to ask Blackboard about that. And then just save the file to a location you can remember on your hard drive. That's gotten harder and harder for me, so I've already done this in preparation for this class, so I'm not going to actually save it again. I've got a couple of copies of it on my on my hard drive already. So that's all there is to getting your content out of Blackboard. It takes a lot less time to do it than to talk about it. So now let's go into Canvas, and I made a blank shell for us to play with today. See if I can find that. Import demo 1. There it is. To enter a course from the dashboard in Canvas, of course, all I do is just click on the tile associated with it. And this is what a blank Canvas course will look like. And this is what your shells that you will get probably starting in April for summer term, and a little after that for fall term. This is what those shells will look like. And at least initially with Canvas, we are not putting any sort of template or anything like that in the course shell before you get it. That process is a little more difficult in Canvas for us, and that's always been 50-50 whether those templates did more good than harm in Blackboard, because in most cases people would just wipe them out and use their own pages and so on as well. So we're going to let you start with a blank course in Canvas, because Canvas will very quickly produce a functional course without a lot of window dressing on your part. So we have two options as far as content is concerned when we're adding content is concerned when we look at a blank canvas shell. We can start loading content manually or an item at a time. And in that event, we'd use this upper icon here, create a new module, or we can add existing content, which is what our session is about today. So all you have to do is click on that item, and it takes you right to your import content page in Canvas. If for some reason you don't see those icons, like you've already created a module manually or something like that, you can always get to this page, the same page, by going to the settings link in your course menu. And over here on the right, we've got this task menu that you will see quite often, more than the students will see, in various settings pages in Canvas, in your Canvas course. And one of the options there is to import course content, and that takes you to the same place. So don't worry if you don't see those icons for some reason. You can get in there as well this way. Now, as with many things in Canvas, the interface for this is quite clean, quite simple. We really just have one thing to do first, and that's decide what type of content we're going to import. And we have to tell Canvas. Of course, we could import content from this, from another Canvas course, either on this system or another one somewhere else. But in this case, we're importing from Blackboard, probably. Though we could also import from Moodle or Desire to Learn, Angel, and so on. This Canvas will swallow content from a wide variety of other learning management systems. So if you happen to have content like that, the chances are you can get it in. And indeed, if your LMS can produce a common cartridge, which is kind of a standard generic export format for learning management systems, Canvas will import that as well. But we're going to get a much better result if we pick something specific to Blackboard. And we want the Blackboard 6789 export package type, not the Blackboard Vista import type, which is the system we turned off 7 years ago. So we are on Blackboard 9.1 right now. So we'll select that. And really the only other, especially if you're importing into a blank course, which is what you'll be doing 99% of the time, none of this here matters, none of these options matter except this one. Be sure to import all of your content rather than trying to select specific content to import. You will be happier in the long run. Again, if you get something into Canvas that you don't want, you can always just delete it or hide it or ignore it. So I tell Canvas what type of import I've got. I select all content, and then I choose the file to import. And let's see, I have that here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, these two copies of the same file, that export file from that little course that we looked at a moment ago. By the way, be sure that you never unzip this file when it downloads. If you unzip it and then zip it back up, it destroys it, or it destroys it as far as utility goes in this process. The only reason you might do that is that you might do it unwittingly if you're downloading using Safari on a Mac, and you have a setting on your Mac that automatically unzips zip files when it downloads them. That is the default setting in Mac OS, and you do want to avoid that. We have some tutorials on that online already, or ask us for help about that. But I think they've gotten a bit better about that at Apple, but that has been a problem in the past. All right, so we just select the file that we want to import and click Open, and then click Import. This is where I cross my fingers. I did this one day about 2 weeks ago in a class, and Canvas was having a problem of some sort, didn't work. I'd wait and wait and wait, and had to do a lot of shucking and jiving to get through the rest of the course. But that's what you expect to happen. Obviously, with a bigger course, that process will take longer, but it shouldn't take too long anyway. And you hope to see that little completed icon there. There may be some issues listed here, but they're almost certainly not going to be any kind of showstoppers. This one, I think, just has to do with a link found in an announcement or something. I don't care about that. I'm probably going to undo the announcements and replace them anyway. So it says that it's imported the content. We don't see any immediate change in the course. And if I go back to the home page, to the home link though, there's my content. That's simple. By default, when you enter a Canvas course, you're dropped into the so-called modules tool. And that's what this is that we're seeing here. There's the indicator there. This is the heart of a Canvas course. This is where the content really kind of lives, at least in terms of access to the content. This is the mother site for content on a Canvas course. And in fact, I've seen a lot of Canvas courses that were nothing more than the modules page. And they're perfectly functional. Let's, we take a look at this, and we can see that there's content here, but it doesn't, of course, look exactly like the Blackboard course. So let's see if we can reconcile the two here and get this cleaned up. If I go back to Blackboard and go back to the home page in Blackboard course, well, I had the opening page in Blackboard, the home page was labeled course content. And I had a little Blackboard item here, a little web page with a graphic and the title of the course. And I had an embedded YouTube video, a link to a document stored somewhere else, a link to the learning modules content area up here in the course menu, and a content folder, a simple content folder with a bunch of web links in it, screen resources on the web for this topic. Well, let's see how that lines up with what we have now in Canvas. Well, here we see a Canvas module entitled Course Content. Canvas modules are basically congruent with learning modules in Blackboard. They're the same concept. It's a chunk of content that's related in some way. We always preach modular course design in online courses, regardless of the learning management system used. And modularizing your content basically means putting content that is logically related together in one place so that students don't have to look all over your course and through the course menu and so on to find it. Modules typically follow the basic organization that you like to use for your course, whether you organize your course material by weeks, week 1, 2, 3, and so on, or chapters in the book, or topics. This course is a topic organized course where each module covers a different topic within the course. But whatever your underlying organization, for a particular subdivision of your course, say the first week, ideally students would go to one place for all the information, all the links, all the content that they need for that week in one place. They would not have to look and say, okay, well, now I need the lecture material for this course, so I need to go over to a PowerPoint folder somewhere in the course menu and find it there and so on. Ideally, you would have everything linked into this week 1 or topic 1 module that the students would need. And they would just start at the top of the module and work to the bottom, and they'd be done with that week or that subdivision of your course. Seems like a simple enough idea, but it's critical in terms of course organization, because nothing will discourage an online student faster than not being able to figure out what to do next. Okay, how do I get started and where do I go from here? Because especially people who are new to this format are extremely nervous about it in many cases. And you want to make things as easy to find and as clear as possible. Blackboard gives you lots of wonderful tools to do that, but it doesn't really enforce it. You can drop the entire course in Blackboard on your homepage if you want to. I've seen that often enough. Canvas is going to actively encourage you not to do that sort of thing. So it's going to put your content, it's going to make modules and put your content into them and leave you to sort out the modules according to your own preferences. So each one of these top level things here that you can see the subdivisions between them in the modules tool, is a module. This is a module. This is a module. That's a big one. Then here's another module. Here's another module. Here's another module. The first thing you'll ask yourself when you see your content moved over from Blackboard is, yeah, do I really need all of those modules? Can I combine some of this stuff? Quite likely. So here's the first module, is entitled Course Content, and that apparently has to do with this content area in Canvas. Every content area in Canvas, or in Blackboard, excuse me, will result in the creation of a module in Canvas when it's imported. So Course Content had this little Blackboard item. Remember, this is like a little web page. And then there's this embedded video, which is really an item as well, but it's just got a video embedded in it. A link to a document and a couple of content folders. Okay, well, the course content module in Canvas just has two things in it. It doesn't have all of that, because some of the stuff that was in course content in the Blackboard course is elsewhere here. We'll find it as we work our way down, not to worry. But this one is just that little welcome item. It's become what's called a page in Canvas, which is basically the same thing as an item in Blackboard. It's a little web page, a content page that has text, graphics, embedded video, links to content outside of the LMS. Blackboard items coming in will only, if they have links in them, will only be linking out to content outside of the LMS, outside of Blackboard. Though in Canvas pages, you can actually create links to content inside the course as well, which makes them quite a bit more powerful than the Blackboard item. But this is just a page in Canvas. If you want to see the other pages that have come over, you can just click this button and view all pages. And these are all content pages that were present in Blackboard as items and have now come over into Canvas. But you don't have to worry about this list, because Canvas has got them, at least has made a first attempt at organizing them for you in the modules tool. We'll go back to that. And then this is that little item that had the embedded video in it. So that's a pretty good start. Students can access this content just as I did, by clicking on the links to it. And as I say, you can just leave the Canvas course as a modules page and let the students work their way down through it. And that's perfectly functional. But there was more stuff on this course content page in Blackboard. We had our learning modules. This is just a link to the learning modules content area up here in the course menu, which contains the bulk of my course content. And we haven't seen that yet. We'll keep looking for it. It's there somewhere. But we also had this screencasting resources folder, which is kind of an additional readings folder. And if we look in Canvas, sure enough, there it is. And rather than just having like a folder icon here, we have not only the title of the content subdivision, but we also have all the links right below it. So it's easy to find them. But this was kind of a, as I say, an additional reference type of thing. It's not one of the first things I want the students to see. It's just dropped here because it was on that opening content, in that opening content area in Blackboard. So I can move things around in this modules tool amazingly easily. I can just, each one of these little icons here with the 4 dots, 2 rows of 4, or 2 columns of 4 dots next to one another is a movement tool. And if I just mouse over it and click and hold, I can move either entire modules around, or I can move stuff within modules just very easily. And this is so much more reliable and functional than the same types of tools in Blackboard. Now I could just drag this one down all the way, but there's a lot of stuff down here below it, and that's kind of tedious. So I can also use movement tools built in to the little menu that's associated with each module, and indeed with each item in a module. This little menu open button here, the 3 vertical dots, notation popularized by Google and Chrome, will give us a menu. One of the things I can do here is move modules, or move a module. And I have some options. I can very quickly move a module where I want it by moving it to the top, before another module, after another module, or to the bottom. And in this case, I'd like this at the bottom. It's the last thing I'd like the students to see. So I just click at the bottom and move. That's a typically intuitive process in Canvas. And there it is at the bottom. And this is good. I mean, these links are functional, except of course in this case it's complaining a little bit about where the content is stored, but everything fine there. So that content is fine. I can just forget about that for now and go back up to the top here and keep working my way down. This is the way I like to do this, is just start from the top of the imported modules and just work my way down, watch it, going back to the Blackboard course and reminding myself what was in there and where I want it to be, and thinking about how, if there's any changes in organization I might want to make, and just proceeding. Any questions so far? Anything looking odd or anything like that? Anything strange? Well, here after course content, and let's think about that for a minute. Yeah, this whole business is course content here. I might want to change the name of this. I can do that readily. I can go over to the menu tool associated with the module itself and select edit. And I might change that. How about welcome? And just update the module to make this a little bit more informative, a little bit more congruent with what I'm actually using it for. Now here I've got a syllabus module, and then that module is the syllabus for the course. That came from the syllabus content area here. And there was a link to the syllabus. But it seems unnecessary to have a separate module just for the syllabus. That's really kind of part of the welcome process here, or the initial module process, module 0, some people sometimes call it. So I could, if I wanted, just move this syllabus up into the welcome module. And this is, sometimes you get some oddities in terms of labels of the content when they come over. So I can change the name of that just as I did with the name of the module by editing it. And I'll just call it syllabus. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I click it open. Wasn't much of a syllabus, but it didn't have to be in this case. Well, let's go back to the modules tool. And suddenly here I have an empty module that I don't need anymore. So I can just delete that and clean up my modules tool a little bit. Yep, I really meant to do that. And now here's an information module. I go back to the Blackboard course, I can see that that came from the information content area in the course template in Blackboard. And that just has my contact information in it. So I really don't need, again, a separate module for that. I can just put that into my welcome module here, maybe. Whoop. And again, just delete this thing out, delete this empty module that I no longer need. And the more of this we do, the more this begins to look like a functional course. Almost done here, actually. I do have this learning modules module. And that's an artifact of the way I designed this course homepage to start with. I had a link here to the content area in the course menu where the learning modules were stored. And there are my learning modules, and that's the bulk of the content in the course. But there was also this little, before you get started, Blackboard item. If we go back to Canvas, here's that, there's a module that's been produced with the name Learning Modules, just because that's what the content area in Blackboard was called. But the only thing in it is that before you get started item. And I might well want to keep that. But again, that's kind of a welcome module sort of thing. Because my learning modules aren't inside this module anymore. And you've probably already seen them there. I'm just going to delete this since it's empty. But now my learning modules, here were my learning modules in the Blackboard course. And here they are, the same ones in Canvas, same order, all the links, trust me, I checked, all of the links that were in the or items, content material, links to assignments, quizzes, everything that was in the learning module in Blackboard is now in a Canvas module. And there's my course content, just laid out, neat as you please, just as it was in Blackboard. And ready to go in most cases. That's the marvelous thing about these imports. Not only do the content, excuse me, not only do the content items come over pretty much, this is a web link, but they come over pretty easily or functionally, but things like discussion forums or discussion topics in Canvas, all set up, ready to go. Even your descriptive material that was associated with the discussion forum in Blackboard comes across and is in the same place in Canvas. I'm sorry, this is actually, excuse me, this is actually an assignment. Clicked on the wrong one. This is a Canvas assignment, almost identical to the same thing in the same type of content in Blackboard. The assignment where the students have instructions and then are asked to create a document, to create a file, or type something into a text box and then submit it to a Dropbox that is automatically created when the assignment is created. This is a Canvas assignment, looks very much like the one in Blackboard, operates almost identically, and it's functional. It came over and you could start using it right away. Again, You want to check the content in Canvas to be sure, but the chances are very high that everything will just work fine when you bring it over. And the same is true, here's a quiz. It's unpublished, but otherwise it's functional. I edit it. Your quizzes, you have a box for instructions. You have some test options. Canvas refers to them as details, but it's the same thing, and as course options in Blackboard, where you can determine things like time limits and number of attempts and all that. You have basically the same capability you have in Blackboard. And then you have an area for questions, the test itself. The questions preview, you can preview the test. You can add new questions, create question groups so that you can pull questions randomly from question banks. Your question pools in Blackboard will import into Canvas as question banks. And the vast majority of the questions will be fully functional, and the tests will be fully functional right off the bat. You will have to adjust dates of availability and maybe some options to reflect the slight differences in organization between the two systems, but pretty much the tests will come over most times in a functional condition without you having to redo everything. So we have here, in just that amount of time, a functional Canvas course. The better organized your Blackboard course is, the easier this process is going to be. But no matter what, you will still be able to pretty easily move your content into Blackboard and fairly quickly produce a functional course in Canvas. The only drawback perhaps to just leaving your course like this is that it's a bit Spartan in appearance, shall we say. Ugly, some people would say, but it works. I mean, students can just start here with welcome and go back to the modules tool, move on, but they don't even have to go back to the modules tool each time. These little next and previous buttons are automatically generated for the modules, so students can just go next, 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 and work their way right through the entire course. Only going back to the modules tool when they want to get an idea of where they are in relation to what's left and so on. The one thing that we do typically see and do recommend to make this a little bit prettier is to create a front page for this course. And notice that the home page from Blackboard did not come over as such. It came over and the content in it was dropped into modules in Canvas, but there was no front page produced per se. It's easy enough to do that using the Pages tool in Canvas, which is the, again, where most of the lecture note type content and so on in Canvas is stored. Just a series of content pages, web pages, Blackboard items, basically. And it's very easy. How would I create a new page here? Speaking of intuitive interfaces. Make sure somebody's awake out there.
Click the plus page.
Yeah, plus page. I mean, it's hard to, with most Canvas pages, if you want to do something, the answer is staring you, how to do it is staring you in the face. So plus page. Mm-hmm.
And you can place it in the front page on top of the modules?
Yeah, you can. I'm going to show you how.
Okay.
We'll make this doesn't take long, so I'm going to make a home page, a very simple home page for the course. I'm just going to call this front page. I can call it anything. And this is Canvas's content editor. I'd encourage you to attend one of our content creation seminars that we'll be offering. This is a marvelous little editor. You can do amazing things with it. It's much better than the one in Blackboard. But we're just going to do some basic stuff here. Let's say maybe I'd like a banner here. Well, I can go over here and I can insert all sorts of content here, like an image from this Images tab. These are things that came over from Blackboard. So you probably have some content here right away. I'll take that Online Learning Pathways logo, and that's all there is to inserting it. I can maybe center it if I want to. Then I might put in the title of the course. And I can, this editor has all the usual text editing tools. I can center that, I can bold it, I can make it bigger, and so on, usual stuff. Maybe I can put a picture of myself in there. I'm going to admit to how old that picture is. But I need to be sure on an opening page that the students have somewhere where to go from here. This is not, we don't want to just drop them into this and have it be a cul-de-sac and they have to then go and click somewhere in the course menu to proceed. I want to give them a way out, as it were. And we just type access course content here. You could be more subtle than that, but subtlety will generally get you nowhere in an online course. I can create hyperlinks, as in any good web editor, which this is. I can create hyperlinks to content outside this page. In Blackboard, in a Blackboard item, which is the closest thing to these Canvas pages that you've seen before, I could only create links to content outside of Blackboard. Always one of the major limitations of that editor. That's not true in Canvas. I've got this links tab here associated with the editor over on the right, and I can link to just about anything I want to inside the course. And that is a powerful thing. That makes this editor it's one of the best, probably my favorite thing about Canvas relative to Blackboard. Because Blackboard pages are much more powerful content containers than Blackboard items because of this. Because you can have a page and then you can go have the students jump directly from that page to a test or to an assignment or to a discussion forum or something like that without having to go back to the modules tool or look for it in the course menu or anything like that. And this is a simple example of that. I'm just going to make a link anchored on this text here, access course content, and I'm going to link to something in the modules tool. And in this case, probably going to want it to go to the first module. So we'll just select that one. And that's all there is to it. That is now an active hyperlink to the first module. If I save this and then click on that link, I go into the course content and I'm ready to rock and roll if I'm a student.
Okay, so Dave, you linked it only to the welcome module. All of them appear?
Pardon?
The link was to only the welcome module, right?
Right.
But when you clicked on the link, everything showed.
Right, but I linked, that just tells Canvas what to bring up in the modules tool. The rest of the modules tool is still available. The rest of the modules are there. But I linked directly to the top of it so that they wouldn't have to scroll up and see it. I could have linked to any of these. And indeed, in a later page, like a page at the beginning of a module or something like that, I might link to something different. But this just drops them into the where they can find their content and proceed from here. But if I click home, that page doesn't show up. Now I have to show you how to make the page that we just created be the first thing that the students see. And of all the things I think I've done in Canvas so far, the this process is probably the least intuitive, and is maybe the one thing I've done that was actually easier to do in Blackboard. I'll admit that. So I'm going to show you how to make that page we just created show up when the students or you enter the course. That's the first thing you see. To do that, I need to get back to my list of pages that's in the entire course. And I need to find that page. And what do I call it? Front page. There it is. Well, just because I called it front page doesn't mean Canvas is going to treat it that way. So there's a couple of things I've got to do here. First off, I have to publish the page. I have to make it visible to students, or Canvas won't let you make it the entry point of the course for obvious reasons. That doesn't mean necessarily that students could get into this course right now and look at it. It doesn't mean that at all, because I haven't published the course as a whole. But when I do publish the course as a whole, as long as all these little green check marks are here, the students will then be able to see this content. Content that is published is visible to students. Content that is not published is not. That's your hard on-off switch that determines whether students can see something in your course or not. And that's, of course, I've probably had more questions about that in Blackboard than any other single issue over the years. Here, it's hard to miss because of the interface. But so I've made that front page published. And then I go to the little menu associated with that page. This is kind of like the action link menu in Blackboard. And there's the option I'm looking for. Use as front page. And you get a little icon there. And Canvas knows that's supposed to be the front page. So we ought to be good, right? We should be good to go. Not yet. There's still one more thing we have to do. From the home position in the course, the home option in the course menu, over here in this task menu on the right is an option to choose home page. I bet you thought we already did that. Not according to Canvas, because Canvas has some other options about things that students might be able to see first entering a course. They could see something called the course activity stream, which is basically what's been going on in the course recently. They can see the course modules. That's the default, and that's a good default to have, because if they can see the modules, they can use the course. Assignments list or the syllabus. Well, the option we want here is pages, front page, and there's the name of the file that are created, front page. And I click save. And now when I click home or when I enter the course, this opening page shows up. So in less than an hour, by a minute or so, we've taken a course out of Blackboard, dropped it into Canvas, cleaned it up, and all I have to do to have students be able to get to it is to hit publish. And we're ready to rock and roll. Questions?
No.
Comments?
Can I ask a question not related to this?
You certainly may. We're kind of at the end of our time here, so I don't want anybody to feel obligated to stay, but I'm more than happy to answer questions as long as you have them. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so in the editor content, the
content editor.
Yes.
Here we are.
Okay, so I'm clicking on the recording. So,
yes.
And it's not detecting my camera, and my camera is always detected by Camtasia, by everything I use.
The reason it's not detected. Yeah, the reason it's not finding it right now is you're using the camera in Zoom.
No, but I'm taking, yes, now, but I'm taking another class. Right. And I'm trying, one of the assignment is to send a quick video. And I had to do it in Camtasia and then embed it here. This is like another step, which I don't want to do. It kept
I,
rolling to detect it. I know this is a technical question, but I thought this is common or something.
I take it this is not on our system. This is another company.
Yes, not on SDCCD.
Right. So I can't speak to how they might have their permissions set and so on, but what you would expect here is you just click on this little link and it automatically detects your webcam and your microphone and you're ready to start recording.
Okay, hopefully that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I have a second webcam on this system. I'm using another video source for Zoom, so I can do this. But when I tried to do this, when I was also in a Zoom session, it didn't come up because something else was using the camera. And it's possible there's another application on your computer that is tying up that camera for some reason. So you probably try, start it when you start up. Try closing just about everything else that's open on your computer except the web browser and see if it works then. And if it doesn't, check with me. I'll see if we can figure something out for you.
Okay, thank you.
It's a cute little tool. It's got its limitations, but if you just want to record a really quick video message for your students and drop it right into a page, Hi, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the warm weather in San Diego. And save it. Oh, I have to give it a title. No, I don't. If I not, well, I didn't put the cursor where I wanted it, but if I save the page just that fast, there's that little message. Hi, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the warm weather in San Diego. So that's kind of cool.